Hey guys, I saw this post on the Marathon Game subreddit about 2 hours ago, and it was asking for some insight on a 1v3, and I thought, I'd throw my hat in the ring. I've helped a couple of other people from the subreddit by hopping in Discord calls with them and reviewing footage of their gameplay, giving them some feedback on their PvP, and all of them had said that it has helped them. So when I saw this post, I thought it would be fun to just shoot a little video, give some analysis of this fight, and hopefully it's helpful for anyone who sees it, who's new, trying to improve at Marathon PvP, and hopeful to Medical Scarcity 616, the person who made the post. And if not, at least it'll be fun for me, I think. So while I was editing this, I also wanted to add a huge shout out to Medical Scarcity. It is very hard to put clips of yourself out on the internet looking to improve. So everything I say here, it comes from love and to try and help him get better at the game, not to put him down or talk bad about him in any way. So I wanted to add that into the start. One other thing I wanted to throw out there is I am not a professional editor, so I apologize. I started trying to go through and kind of normalize the volume levels, but it was just a huge pain in the ass. So the game volume from the clip is going to be extraordinarily low, except for in this first part where I messed with it a little bit. So later on, I may reference some things. I encourage you guys to, if you really want to, go watch the clip yourself. I'll link it in the description. Here we go. Here's the video.
We got a whole team on me.
Okay. I want to point out a couple of things to start. The first thing is that Mr. Medical Scarcity, or Little Shorty as he's known in this clip, is pretty low on bird ammo. And he's running Burt Waster. That's the gun combo he has right now. So we know that he has a very, very short range setup. We can also hear that his teammate, Comms, the only thing he says is, I have a whole team on me, right? So not very much information. So what I would say is that the first mistake you make is doubling back to try and help Mr. Coconut. In this situation, we know that there's 3 places the team could theoretically be. Ish. The first one is way back here inside data wall, just about to come out. The second one is right here on the other side of this hill, much closer to you. And the third one is kind of way back here, coming from Holler towards you guys. Now, based on the direction that we saw Mr. Coconut run, where he ran kind of down in this way as he was calling team on me, I think it's most likely to assume that these kids came out of data wall and are the most likely spot they are to be is in this close position, right? And because of that, with that knowledge, and with the knowledge that we are running an extremely close range setup, I think the most optimal play here is to actually push up to this corner so that we can use this corner for coverage and peek. Right? We will be, we're playing Vandal, so we can always slide back if they are extremely close, right? We can always back up. We have a teammate who is close to us who can provide support in that situation as well, right? Cover fire. But what we're going to get is we're going to get more information faster, right? Doubling back, we'll get the same information, but it takes twice as long because we have to walk the distance that we just went plus more to get around the other side of this big rock. So it's going to take longer for us to get information. And we're moving away from the team, which is putting us in a far worse setup, a far worse position to use our close range weapons. So we don't do that. It's okay. So we push back around. We're trying to help Mr. Coconut. He goes down. We cannot help him at this point. We're not triage. This nade, I like the idea of of this proc nade, so you know where they are. I don't like this at all. I don't like you taking this fight. We can actually see, which is extremely useful information, because of your sight, that you're 46 meters away from the people that you're shooting at. This is for sure. I mean, you have a blue, purple, Bert. So maybe you have like between 40 and 45 meters of effective range if, but two of your attachments give increased range, including the purple one. But let's assume that's like fairly unlikely, which means that your effective range is, if you do have some, like both the blue ones give range, only one of them gives range, your effective range is going to be somewhere between like 27 and 37 meters, which means that you are not, I can see that, because you're using a mouse, that you're playing on mouse and keyboard, which means you don't get aim assist, but you still do get bullet magnetism, which is what the effective range gives in this game. So by shooting these shots, you're shooting them without the bullet magnetism. And so, based off the fact that you only have 2 clips, I think that these shots are pretty illegal, to be honest. If you had 400 ammo behind this would have been amazing damage. Great job, perfect peak. You took almost no damage, dealt a lot of damage, very, very good. But because you have only 2 clips in your Burt, you have to make every single bullet count. So I would not be shooting my Burt unless I'm in a situation where I feel extremely confident that I can down at least one of these players. Like, you're in a 2v1 right now. Mr. Coconut is not getting back up. So we need to make every single one of our bullets count. And this is just not a fight, like we talked about earlier. This is not a fight that we should be taking. And I think that the damage is not that great. I think you would have been way better served by just hucking your frag grenade at them at this range. And then, again, either moving back around the rock or falling back into a position where, you're forcing them to push into this choke and engage you in a much more close range fight. So yeah, let's keep going. Take a little bit of chip damage, back up. I don't like this either. My understanding, now take this with a grain of salt. I am a Thief main, not a Vandal main. But I've watched a lot of Lucid and Saywolabro, who I think are like 2 of the best Vandals in the game. And my understanding of Arm Cannon is that the damage is like really bad unless you specifically have the cores to increase the damage. And if you've ever watched Lucid's solo ranked grind, he does a lot of 1v3s because he queues into ranked solo without a teammate. And so all of his fights are 1v3s, basically. And the main thing that he's using his arm cannon for is knocking people who are extremely wounded and trying to heal from behind cover so he can finish them. Or, if he knows that they're going for a res, shooting like a partial charge that just hits them because it will disrupt, them taking damage disrupts the res, which allows him to then either reposition or approach or whatever he's trying to do. Those are really the only 2 things that we should be saving our hand cannon for, I think. And using it, I understand the thought process here, and I don't hate the thought process itself. I believe the thought process is, hey, look at all this damage I just did to this kid. Broke shields, headshotted, broke that guy's shields, right? Did a lot of damage. They're going to be super low. But the amount of time between doing that damage, like this like these 2 seconds, this is never hitting that guy, especially after charge up. One more piece of advice I would say is if you really want to go for this, you should almost always be double jumping here to give yourself an angle over this rock, because the people that you did the most damage to, we have to assume that they're running and hiding, right, to try and heal. They're trying to break line of sight from where they saw you last. So you need to be able to jump up over this to try and shoot past this cover to give yourself the best chance to hit the guy that you actually want to kill with this. So I don't like using the arm cannon this way at all. You do hit this guy, but I don't think it does any amount of, like, reasonable amount of damage realistically. You start to go throw the nade. This guy pushes up. Unfortunate frag positioning. Obviously, it was like at the last second that you tried to throw it, so you missed this guy. Unfortunate aim. That's just reality. Everyone misses sometimes. This is the next part that I kind of want to talk about. Pre-watched video, by the way. I saw this already. Okay. You should have died here in like every situation, or well, playing against like better players, you'll die in this situation every single time. So I want to talk about why I actually think that it would have been way more optimal for you to dash left here instead of dashing right. And I think that this is kind of just like a decision making that comes with understanding the game. We know that there are at least 2 people right here. Or that's where we last saw them. We don't know they're still there. Theoretically, they could have been pushing around this rock and not been here. Obviously, we see this one shooting in this exact pause frame, but this is like, 0.2 seconds before you slide on this guy. So you wouldn't be able to register this information in that amount of time. So realistically, while you were making the decision to slide, we didn't have the information more people were here, but we should be assuming they're here, right? We should assume that the people who were here are healing and are now coming back to re-engage. And so by sliding into this position, we are putting ourselves in a spot where we get shot by 1, 2, 3 enemies, and we can get the help of 0 teammates, right? Because this guy cannot help us. Our Mr. Untiltable Assassin can't help us on this angle because we are on the other side of the rock from him. So he can't even like really supply suppressing fire for us. So this, although this ends up working out, this is a really bad play in hindsight. And imagine instead that we slide in this direction, right? I think it gets the same thing done, but way safer. Because, again, until right before we decide to slide, we don't see this guy. He's covered by the rock. But if we slide here, if we watch the clip go, he actually peeks back around this side. And again, we wouldn't have known that before, but he was fighting the assassin. Like in this clip right here, which is like 2 seconds before this, he's fighting our assassin teammate. Like in this situation, this is where you're deciding to slide. You're pulling out the shotgun, right? You're deciding to slide on him. This slide is just so much more optimal. Your teammate now is, standing directly behind you, and you're putting yourself in a position to be in a 2v1, and you're utilizing this cover right here to, defend yourself from the enemies which we know are up the hill. So all in all, I think that the engagement realistically should have ended right here. You should have just gotten obliterated by this guy's teammates. And the fact that you survive here is just because these kids ain't aiming for nothing else. Now, I also think that this is a mistake. As you're a Vandal player, this is not enough heat to clear with your ult. You should never be ulting when your heat is this low. You're totally fine here. Imagine if instead of ulting here, you had just popped a green shield pack. Or even a white shield pack, right? Some kind of meds. Now, I don't see you use meds anywhere in this entire video. So maybe you don't have any meds. Maybe all you have is signal jammers. And if that's the case, then obviously, you can't heal. But in this situation, I think, our first instinct should be to heal if we can. And even if we can't heal here, I don't ever think we should be pushing our ult in this situation ever. Like you just went, anyway. Okay, your buddy says help. He supplies absolutely 0 useful comms, which is, assuming that these people are randoms, totally normal. If they're your, friends, a little bit more sad. but maybe also normal. This next nade is a little bit questionable. This flechette that you throw. Use, like, based off the audio cues, I don't know why you would ever think that they're, like, on top of this guy. The second nade you throw is way better. You're throwing it, like, right into this open space, but, like, where the guy got downed. It's way more likely they're over here trying to res their teammate or, you know, again, running up from behind this rock. So this nade, way better. And we can tell it's way better, you know, hindsight 2020, because we get rewarded with it exploding on someone and healing us to full. And downing someone, actually. Or full downing. Yeah, full downing the guy that you shotgunned originally is, I think, what happens there. So then you start to push up. So again, I think you popped your ult here. You have so much heat. You are like totally out in the open here. Like you are in no man's land. Still, the more that you don't heal, the more I feel like you probably just don't have any meds. You have no meds, no ammo. So maybe you guys just killed like another team or something like that. And you're like, you have like are full of loot. And that's why you have like no ammo because you like dropped it all to pick up a bunch of stuff. But they didn't have shields, so you're still on green shields. I don't know. I'm trying to concoct a story where any of this makes sense. I'm sure you'll let us know, hopefully. But you already ulted. To come back to what's important, you already ulted here. I think that in this situation, we should be making our way around to the right. Every little piece of high ground helps, right? And we know that from data wall, this is a hill that goes down like this into this kind of like little valley right here that your friends are dead in, right? So this is the high ground in this situation. And so by rotating around to the high ground, not only are you limiting the angles that they have to peek, right? They have to swing out wider to be able to see you if you're close to the wall. Which puts them in no man's land instead of you, and gives you the ability to use cover. But also then you're on like the high ground and they're not. Positioning is incredibly important in this game. Utilizing every little bit of high ground you can, making sure that you're always in a position to be able to duck behind cover. Things like that are the things that are really going to help you in situations like this where you're in you know, a 3v1 or a 2v1 or whatever. You run back up. You hear your friend die, obviously. You run back up. This guy comes running around the corner. I think this is where, you know, you run completely out of ammo. I think this is the first time you realize that you don't have any ammo. At least that's kind of what it seems like to me, the way that you took that fight with your bird out. This is like a Vandal player only situation where you decide to do what I consider like the craziest thing ever, which is just slide in on this guy. I would have never made this play. I don't know exactly what I would have done in this situation. I probably would have continued sliding around to the right, especially since I have my ult on, and just tried to get away so that I, you know, could reposition into something more advantageous. But you just slide right on top of this guy. Fine. Down him. This is the last kind of point that I'll say. I think that turning around here, obviously this is frantic, you know, it's hard to think in the moment, but you just downed this guy, and you know, we know that it's hard for us to remember this, but we know this guy has a volt thrower, because we downed the first guy who pushed. This guy was the guy who had the volley rifle, who was shooting at us a bunch and missed when we slid up originally, right? And then the other player who was back there was shooting at us with a volley. So we know that one of them has a volley, or sorry, with a volt. A volt thrower, yeah. So this guy's a volt thrower, and this guy's a volley rifle. And so this guy is never killing us if we keep sliding. So I just don't think that turning around here is necessary. Look how close we are. If I can get the right frame. Look how close we are to this rock before you turn around. We are so close, bro. I think that, and additionally, You have 2 slides left here. The second slide will overheat you, but you have 2 slides left. So imagine a scenario here where instead of turning around, you slide. You're overheated behind this rock, quite far back. You can heal. Or, again, let's pretend like you don't have patch kits. We're assuming you don't. You can put the, you're here. You can put the claymore down right here, right? To defend this side. And then you hold this side with the shotgun. And then you're waiting for your heat to come back, right? You're waiting for your heat to come back. You can still single jump, clamber this, and just start the clamber animation so you can see over the top, gather information about where the triage is, and then jump back down. And he can never punish you because he has a volt thrower, bro. The projectile is so slow. So you are always allowed to jump up and peek and use the clamber to peek on him and just know where he is, and there's nothing he can do about it. So then he's either forced to run up on you or to run back and try and, to try and ult his teammate or something like that. If that's the case and he runs back, you could, loot the body of the first guy that you killed, right? Loot his bag for meds if you don't have any. You can, any number of different things. Like, you just have so many more options. Obviously, it's, hindsight 2020, but this, I don't know, the turnaround in Claymore is a creative attempt, but, unfortunately it doesn't work out. Oh, there's that flechette that you threw as well, which was just sitting there, the first one. Anyway, I don't know if this was helpful or not. I hope that it was. Yeah,